morning. We have just concluded the House Democratic Caucus Issues Conference, 100 days in, fighting for the people. We are unified, we are driven, we are committed to execute like a laser beam our For the People agenda on behalf of everyday Americans. House Democrats, wake up each and every day to fight for working families, middle-class folks, and senior citizens. House Democrats, wake up each and every day to fight for the poor, the sick, and the afflicted. House Democrats, wake up each and every day to fight for the least, the lost, and the left behind. House Democrats, wake up each and every day to fight for veterans, for people in urban America, suburban America, and rural America. House Democrats are committed to fight for the people. And that's what we've discussed over the last few days. We've learned together, we've enjoyed each other's company, focused on the creativity and the energy and the brilliance and the drive to collectively get things done for the people. We've had a successful 100 days. We're looking forward to an even more successful second 100 days as we continue our journey fighting for the people. And let me yield now to our very distinguished Vice Chair of the House Democratic Caucus from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Catherine Clark.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you all of my colleagues for being here. I am proud to report that 100 days into this new majority, the caucus is strong. We are focused, we are unified on getting things done for the American people and to putting those foundations of our For the People agenda ahead of us, and to work to make sure that we are putting those issues that people talk about around their kitchen tables back on the front burner of Congress. And already, what we have done with H.R. 1, protecting voting rights, getting corruption out of politics, common sense measures to end gun violence in this country, ensuring that women are paid equally for equal work, protecting those with pre-existing conditions. And that is just some of what we've already done in this caucus, in this majority for the people. We are excited and energized to go to our districts and be back at work, hearing from them to inform our work when we come back in the end of April. And key to delivering our For the People agenda is the work of the DPCC. I am proud to call up our chairman, David Cicilline, and very grateful that Ted Lieu and Debbie Dingell are here representing the DPCC as well.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. I'm delighted to be here on behalf of my co-chairs, Matt Cartwright, Debbie Dingell, and Ted Lieu, to first say to our chairman, Chairman Jeffries, and Vice Chair Clark, thank you for an extraordinary issues conference. Thank you, Madam Speaker, for bringing us together for a really serious issues conference. I think I've been to every one of them in the last 8 years. This was the best, the most exciting, because we really had an opportunity to reflect on the work that we've done in the first 100 days, which I dare say is more than was done in the last 8 years for the American people, ranging on the issues that we identified after listening carefully to the American people about their priorities: driving down healthcare costs, driving down the cost of prescription drugs, being sure that we protect coverage for pre-existing conditions, raising family incomes with a real focus on rebuilding the country with a bold infrastructure plan, and taking on the corruption in Washington and getting the government working for the people again. When you look at the list, it's extraordinary of the accomplishments of the first 100 days. So we had an opportunity to reflect on that, to learn from each other, to really develop an incredibly cohesive force so that we can build on this momentum and get the work done that lies ahead. This was an inspiring gathering. We are all leaving here re-energized, determined to continue to deliver on the issues that matter most to the American people. And with that, I have the extraordinary privilege of introducing the distinguished lady from the state of Illinois, Lauren Underwood.
Good morning. I'm Lauren Underwood from the Illinois 14th, and I'm pleased to be with you here today. We made it through our first 100 days. My freshman colleagues and I have been focused on our constituents, being responsive, being accessible, being accountable to them. And we've had over 100 town halls collectively, closed out casework, tackled correspondence. We are showing up for our communities, and we are having their backs in Washington. When we say we're working for the people, we are working every day to lower health care costs. Seriously. On day one, we voted to defend the Affordable Care Act in the Texas versus Azar case, which threatens to strip away pre-existing condition protections. We proposed bills and had hearings in regular order to expand tax credits, lowering premium prices for consumers, and stabilizing the marketplace. We're focused on lowering drug prices, from hearings on insulin price spikes, bills addressing competition and driving innovation, and the many, many, many exciting proposals to expand coverage. House Democrats are united in our mission to improve quality and lower health care costs for the American people. We are holding the administration accountable for their efforts to take away coverage. We're making great progress, and we're just getting started. I'd like to bring up Dean Phillips from Minnesota.
Thanks, Lauren. Great job. Hi, everybody. What a great couple days. We did some reflecting. We dwelled in possibilities. And most importantly, this caucus became a family of diversity from all around the country, different races, religions, professional backgrounds, and even political perspectives. But we did the thing that I want to invite the entire country to start doing, and that is spend time together. Invite one another to conversation and reflection. We got to start talking more and tweeting a little bit less. And that's what we did. It was just 2 days, but it was a darn good beginning. We are family indeed, and we are just getting started. And with that, I'm honored to turn it over to my colleague from Texas, Sylvia Garcia.
Thank you, Congressman, and good morning. Well, you've heard all the great deeds, 100 days, a lot of accomplishments. But I want you to think of the people behind these accomplishments, not those of us who were here to get it done, but how it impacts all the people that are represented in every one of these bills. The mother who can't have enough food to put on the table for her children, the seniors who may not have enough money to be able to pay for their medicines because of the high drug prices, the workers who don't have a living wage. Every one of these bills is not just words, it represents families that are going to be directly impacted. So no matter whether it's my district or Laura Underwood's district or Dean Phillips' district or any of the districts throughout the country, all of us together, out of many we are one. De muchos somos uno. De muchos somos uno. No matter what language, no matter what city, no matter what state across this country, working families will benefit from all this work. So I want to be, for me, just being here as a freshman, it's 100 days, but frankly, Madam Speaker, some days it felt like 100 months. But it's good to see the list, because now I feel like we may have gone through the shutdown. We may have gone through some tough times. For me, it's not my first rodeo. I've been in leadership positions in the state Senate in Texas, but I've always been in the minority. So it's just been great to be here. It's been exciting. I look forward to come back. And Madam Speaker, I look forward to working with you for the next 100 days and the next 100 days and many more days to come, because I know that the best is yet to come, particularly under your leadership. With that, I yield to our Speaker, Nancy Pelosi.
I was so enjoying and being inspired by our speakers, I didn't realize I was next. In any event, I want to join all of our colleagues who, in the room, the conference room, and here, who have saluted the leadership of our Chairman Hakeem Jeffries and Vice Chair Catherine Clark for bringing us together in a very substantive, unifying, energizing way at this conference. Really a series of workshops where we engaged with each other, and again, for the people. It is nice to be in the majority because of what it means to the electorate, what it means for the people. And for the majority for the people means lower health care costs by reducing the cost of prescription drugs and saving the pre-existing condition benefit. The majority for the people means building the infrastructure of America in a green way to make bigger paychecks, lower health costs, bigger paychecks. The majority for the people means cleaner government. And we talked about those issues and how we can be more specific in terms of legislation, more effective in terms of connecting with the American people on all of those scores, because the outside mobilization is what gives us hope. 10,000 events to save the Affordable Care Act in the last term of office when the assaults were made to eliminate the Affordable Care Act. As you know, we're going to fight it in the courts, we're fighting in the Congress, we'll fight in the court of public opinion as well. But this was, hallelujah, it was a cause for celebration for what it means in the lives of the American people. You know, we're all fond of using temporal markers. We all reference them, whether it was Lincoln 77 years ago, whether it was our founders, now are the times that try men's souls. And our founders also said, the times have found us. And the times have found us now. Not to put ourselves in the category of the greatness of our founders or Lincoln with his temporal markers, but the times have found us because of the urgency of the challenge that we have. Our meeting was closed by a comment from our distinguished inspiration, a person that is an honor for each of us to call colleague, some of us to call friend, John Lewis. We must save our values and save our democracy, was how he closed our session. We see that as our responsibility. So again, I thank our distinguished chair and vice chair. We had a great conference. I also want to acknowledge who hasn't spoken, Tom Malinowski, one of our freshman members from New Jersey. Ted Lieu was acknowledged already as DPPC. Sheila Jackson-Lee from Texas. And Hank Johnson from Georgia, very distinguished member of Congress. All of the members are going for the bus now, but we left again saying what we always say: our diversity is our strength, our unity is our power, as our founders directed, from many one. With that, I yield back to the distinguished chairman, Mr. Jeffries.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Any questions?
Rachel Baker from the Washington Post. My question's for Pelosi. Speaker Pelosi, we just ran a story saying that the White House put pressure on ICE to try to release undocumented migrants into Democratic districts, including yours, as sort of political retribution during the shutdown standoff. Would you comment on that?
Well, I don't know anything about it, but again, it's just another notion that is unworthy of the presidency of the United States and disrespectful of the challenges that we face as a country, as a people, to address who we are, a nation of immigrants.
This one's also for Speaker Pelosi. I was wondering, what do you
Any of my colleagues you can chime in as well.
I was just wondering what you thought about Mitch McConnell. He's been saying he wants to make 2020 a referendum on socialism.
Oh, come on. What else? Why don't they make it a referendum on a positive suggestion they may have for the good of the American people? In our Congress, H.R. 1 for us was to reduce the role of big, dark, special interest money in politics for them. H.R. 1 was to give 83% of the benefits of a tax bill to the top 1%. That's the only bill that they have passed and signed of any accomplishment in the last Congress. You think they might talk about something positive for the people. But let's make it a referendum for the people in terms of lowering health care costs, bigger paychecks, cleaner government. Any colleagues want to weigh in there? Tom Malinowski of New Jersey?
Sure. I'll just say, if as somebody who came to America after my family escaped a socialist dictatorship, if they want to come after me on that, if a president who is in love with a communist dictator, Kim Jong-un, wants to come after me on that, bring it on. We'll run on health care and infrastructure, and we'll win.
My question is also for Speaker Pelosi. Congresswoman Omar has continued to defend her comment about 9/11. Can you just weigh in on her initial comment and also her defense?
Well, I haven't had the opportunity to speak with her to see the nature of her comment, and as is my custom with my colleagues, I call them in before I call them out. So I'll look forward to hearing from her. She was in transit. We tried to reach her. She was in transit. So I'll have some comment after I do speak to her. Anybody else on that subject? No?
Back to immigration real quick. The president does continue to talk about the situation at the border.
Can you just outline what is the Democratic response at this point to the
It's not a question of response. We've been very clear. The president had a shutdown of government because he wanted billions and billions of dollars for his wall. We sent him a bill. He didn't want to sign it. He shut down government. Weeks went by in a bipartisan way. House and Senate, Democrats and Republicans on the Appropriations Committee wrote legislation that said, here, Mr. President, is what we're giving you for the border. We all agree we must secure our border. There's money there for increased judges to adjudicate the cases more quickly. There's funding there for humanitarian assistance for the people coming in. There's money for repairs and some physical necessities that might be there. And there is funding to send to the countries of the Northern Triangle to try to alleviate the problem before it reaches our shores. That is what Democrats and Republicans in the House and in the Senate sent to the president, which he signed. Of course, they then tried to usurp the Constitution of the United States with his initiative, which 12 Republicans in the Senate voted in a bipartisan way to oppose the president on that. So again, we all know we're supposed to secure the border. We don't need any lectures or tantrums from the president on that score. But we do want to work together for comprehensive immigration reform, and I'm pleased to see, but I have reported that Leader Mitch McConnell is ready to talk about that because we have a symptom at the border. It has created a humanitarian crisis, which we've given the president the funds to address. In a way that is consistent with our values. As a mother of 5 and a grandmother of 9, I don't think it is a statement of American values to take children out of the arms of their parents, to say it might be 2 years before we reunite them. You either don't know what you're talking about or you don't know what bonding between parent and child, whether it's father, mother, and child is. So what the president is doing is, in my view, terribly wrong. What we do need to do is sit down and have comprehensive immigration reform. I'm glad that the majority leader in the Senate, Mitch McConnell, has said, or at least it's reported that he has said, that he's willing to do that. And I do think that the president is, I think, beginning to realize that that has to happen, and he cannot let any of the people in the White House who do not understand the words of Ronald Reagan, who talked about what immigration means to America as our rejuvenation. Do you want me to read it again to you? I just refer you to Ronald Reagan's last speech as President of the United States on the value of newcomers to our country. And once we close that door, America will fail to be continue to be preeminent in the world.
So you guys talk about all these accomplishments and show us this list, but only 2 of these bills on the list that are highlighted have been enacted into law, and only 12 bills since the beginning of this Congress have been signed by the president. You've got more than 170 bills that are collecting dust in the Senate that you've sent over there. Yeah. But how frustrated are you?
We're not collecting dust. That's a matter of weeks. You have to remember government was closed for the first few weeks. We had to address that challenge, and I invite my colleagues to weigh in on this. Let me just say this. The reason we are optimistic and hopeful is not that we can pass bills in the House. We intend to do that, to state our purpose, to honor our commitment to the American people, to make advances on their behalf. But I'm a big believer in public sentiment. Abraham Lincoln, another Republican president, public sentiment is everything. With it, you can accomplish almost anything. Without it, practically nothing. Public sentiment will weigh in. And the Senate will see that it is important to pay equal pay, legislation passing equal pay for equal work, that gun safety is important to the American people, that many of the pieces of legislation that we have either passed or about to pass are 70-80% bipartisanly and nonpartisanly supported by the American people. And they will either act upon the legislation or be accountable to the public for why they did not. So I'm very proud of this list of accomplishments, and we do intend that we are not going as slow as the slowest ship. If what you are suggesting is we sit back and say, well, the Senate, they'll never do anything no matter what the public thinks, so why should we do anything? You have mistaken us for somebody else. Please don't do that.
I just wanted to ask, though, like, what you thought the prospects for bipartisanship over the next 100 days
But
look like.
I think it would be, I think it's good. I think that Mitch McConnell, no, our main thing that we have to do, our main must-pass legislation is the appropriations bills, and we will pass them in a bipartisan way. And as Leader Hoyer said yesterday, in a way that is according to time, on time, and that's an accomplishment. We will do that in a bipartisan way. The senator has now said that he wanted to talk about immigration if what we read in the press is accurate in that regard, but hopefully it has some basis in fact. We'll find out. I do think that there's plenty of room for bipartisanship, as I have said before, and I'll say again. The president has said over and over again he wants to do an infrastructure bill. So do we. And we're making progress as to what the parameters of that would be time-wise and financially. The president has said he wants to lower the cost of prescription drugs. Now we're talking about two of our top priorities: lower the cost of prescription drugs, build the infrastructure of America to build paychecks, bigger paychecks for our country. So we have prioritized in a way that is bipartisan. I'm not sure they're interested in cleaner government and lowering the role of dark special interest money in politics, but we'll leave that up to the American people. And by the way, as we celebrate our majority for the people, lower drug prices, bigger paychecks, cleaner government, important to note, and our distinguished chair, Sherry Bustos, just gave us a plan for how we go forward. But understand this, we won 43 seats, took out 43, politically speaking, Republicans in a highly gerrymandered, deeply voter-suppressed arena. American people were paying attention. American people spoke at the polls. The American people will weigh in on these issues.
Last question.
Anybody want to say anything about any of that?
Well, I'll just add, as the speaker indicated, we were able to seize the majority because of the fact that public sentiment was with us on the issues that we communicated to the American people that we would fight for, anchored in lower health care costs, bigger paychecks, focused on an infrastructure plan, and cleaning up government and the corruption that exists in Washington, D.C. Public sentiment is everything. The public is with us. House Democrats have promised to protect Americans with pre-existing conditions. We have promised to lower health care costs, focused on driving down the high cost of life-saving prescription drugs. House Democrats have promised a real infrastructure plan to fix our crumbling bridges, roads, tunnels, airports, mass transportation system, and to do it in a bipartisan way. That's what we intend to deliver.
And by the way, on the subject of health care and pre-existing conditions, no one was more articulate. All the things we've talked about message and mobilization and et cetera, none of it is important without the quality of the candidates we had that were out there. And Lauren Underwood's personal story was such a compelling one. Not only won her election, but it had a ripple effect across the country. Thank you for your leadership and courage.
Thank you.
Lauren, Congresswoman Underwood.
Yeah, I just want to add one quick thing to this, and that this agenda that the House Democrats developed came from the American people. We didn't just sort of sit in a room and pick these priorities. These are the priorities of the American people, and I think that's why the Speaker's optimism is so well placed. It cannot be the case that the Senate of the United States and the Republicans in the Senate will prevent us moving forward on what are the urgent priorities of the American people. So we're counting on them to respond to the will of the people, and if not, frankly, to face the consequences in 2020. But Democrats are going to continue to fight for the people, pass legislation that will improve their lives, and hold them accountable if they don't join our effort.
And I might add, we would rather have success in terms of them passing the bill, getting it signed into law, than having a political issue at the polls.
Last question.
Madam Speaker, you expressed confidence about being able to pass the appropriations bill since those are the one must-pass thing. The president tweeted last night that House Democrats want to negotiate a $2 trillion spending increase but can't even pass their own plan. We can't afford it anyway, and it's not happening. What is your response?
I don't respond to the president's tweets. I don't know. I mean, it's just, To me, it is unpresidential. We have serious work to do. What is his purpose in tweeting? I don't know. But our purpose is working together to get the job done for the American people. And really not to inflame, but to unify. And I think if there's any message to come out of this conference, it's one of respect. Respect for the decency of the American people and the respect for meeting their needs, and to do so in a way that is not dividing, but is unifying. Thank you all very much. Thank you.
Thank you.